Guys, it's Will from Will's Fifth Quarter Special here, and as you all have noticed, it's been 2 hours since the trade deadline passed for Major League Baseball, and it's really interesting to kind of see where the teams were at. So we're gonna kind of look at it a little bit here. Um, Please chime in. We're gonna be talking about both teams, and we're gonna kind of get into my thoughts on the deals that were done. We had two trades, two of the three made by the Chicago White Sox that were with the Cubs, actually. So I'm going to get into that a little bit, talk about what I think about the moves, how it can impact each team. As we're seeing the Cubs, now we didn't know what was going to happen. So I'm going to start with the Cubs here a little bit. We did not know what was going to happen with the trade deadline, where they were going to go, what players they might keep or try and re-sign. And they cleaned house pretty much. We're gonna look at the transactions courtesy of MLB.com, and I'm gonna go through them one by one so you guys can kind of follow with me based on the deals. So give me 1 second. So I'm gonna be releasing some questions as well. There's gonna be a poll question towards the end of the Facebook Live after talking about both teams. I'm going to fill you guys in on what's coming up. We have a new episode that's going to be in the works pretty soon. Some more Cubs and Sox content should be coming as well down the road throughout the rest of the season here. And also some social media stuff will be worked in as promised soon for Will's Fifth Court Trivia. So the Chicago Cubs, though, were really surprising in some of the trades that they made. And one of the big trades yesterday, um, this is they made a trade with the White Sox, and they traded, Jock Peterson before that, not too long ago, to the Atlanta Braves. They got Bryce Ball, and I think that's a really good first base prospect for them. He's in Single A, so it's going to take him time to develop, but could be a really good guy for their system. Helps you fill the hole that you now have at first base long term, because you can find someone to fill it up until like a prospect develops, or you find in a rebuild, you usually find a player to hold that position as a stopgap option, depending on how long it takes your prospects to develop. And they traded with the White Sox. Now, that has not been done since 2017, just to remind Will's Score Special fans that are both Cubs and Sox fans, maybe, or, you know, covering that area of fandoms with this one, or baseball fans in general, or sports fans in general, even, guys. This trade was pretty big in historic terms of the relationship and rivalry between the Chicago White Sox and the North Siders up north, right not far from the lakefront, the Chicago Cubs. So that trade was pretty big back then. It was Eloy Jimenez, Brian Fleet, Matt Rose, and Dylan Cease to the White Sox for Jose Quintana, and we see how that worked out. Worked out better for the White Sox. They're winning that trade right now, as Jose Quintana is on a 1-year deal with the Los Angeles Angels. So, reason I'm bringing that up is the trade of Ryan Tepera to the White Sox by the Cubs was the first crosstown trade since 2017, and the Chicago White Sox uh, got sent Ryan Tepera from the Cubs. The Cubs, in return, acquired a left-handed pitcher who I think is going to be pretty good, Bailey Horn. He was drafted by the White Sox last year in that COVID draft where we saw only 5 rounds. This year it was 20, but last year, due to COVID stuff, it was 5 rounds, and then players were selected as undrafted free agents. But that was one of the earlier trades yesterday between the Cubs and the White Sox. And the Cubs kept getting to work on the moves. Jed Hoyer was making moves here. And this one, I think, really shocked me. I've talked to a lot of Cub fans that I know, close friends of mine, family, and to you guys on the show, and it really was surprising that they didn't try and keep Rizzo or re-sign him. I mean, if you get a good trade offer with these players in walk years, I think it's good that you try and make a move, but it surprised me Rizzo specifically getting dealt of that core first. And Anthony Rizzo got traded with cash to the New York Yankees yesterday for right-handed pitching prospect Alexander Vizcaino and center field outfield prospect of the Yankees Kevin Alcantara. So two prospects right there going to the Cubs, and they were not done after that. So they made some more trades today. The big ones came today, even towards the end there. So we saw Chris Bryant get traded towards the end of the deadline there. But the first two trades were between the Chicago White Sox and Cubs again, actually, guys. So the Cubs and Sox made another trade, and Craig Kimbrell, who we thought the Cubs were going to trade to Tampa Bay with Chris Bryant, was rumored by Jeff Passan. And that's the thing about the trade deadline, guys. It'll always change who's going to go where in an instant. Not a lot of people didn't know where Kimbrell was going to go until there's David Kaplan of NBC Sports Chicago and ESPN Radio 1000 tweeting that the White Sox were in discussion to trade for Craig Kimbrell from the Cubs. Now, we knew it was going to cost a pretty good penny to get Kimbrell to wherever team he goes to. The Cubs were going to get a good value, and they did. So the Chicago Cubs traded star closer Craig Kimbrell, former NL All-Star this year as well, to the Chicago White Sox for young second baseman Nick Madrigal out of Oregon State and right-handed relief pitcher Cody Hoyer. So right there, the Cubs got really good value in that trade. I think that so far, that's one of the three key trades that they made of youngsters. That's going to be a new cornerstone in this new future Cubs team and future contention window whenever that happens. They're just starting the rebuild here, so we don't know any of those details yet for sure. This is only their starting point right now. So that's a really good trade for them. I know a lot about both teams, so just kind of knowing Nick Madrigal as a player, seeing him play for the White Sox, you can see he's got a lot of talent, really good personality, good work ethic, and he's going to bring that to the Cubs. He's got really good IQ, really good second baseman. He's very young, pretty good defenseman, pretty good, very good hitter. They call him Nicky Two Tracks for a reason. So I think he's just going to continue to develop. He has a lot of potential, and you got to pay to get something, and that's what the White Sox did by giving up Nick Madrigal. And Cody Hoyer was in it as well. He's a good reliever that could maybe be a Cubs future closer or setup man at this point. Because after the trade of Kimbrell, we don't know what's going to happen with the Cubs right now. So I'm going to release, while we're talking, a few questions here. So I'm going to open the cards and just chime in when you see them. And we'll just keep going from there. Not seeing anyone tuning in yet, but hopefully we'll have some people checking out the video. I know it's a different time of day, but we'll see what we can do. As usual, though, this video will be up on our YouTube channel. And I'm going to post a poll in a second about that. And share with you guys so you can find info out on that as well. So just taking a look at it a little bit, the Cubs also made the trade of Javier Baez. Now, that was another player I saw the Cubs keeping. I was very surprised that both him and Rizzo did not stay in Chicago, at least one of those. We didn't know what was going to happen. It's a trade deadline. Shocking things happen, so that's kind of what happened here in the case of the Cubs. You had players in walk years, and this player that got traded with Javier Baez to the New York Mets was also in that type of contract, one-year deal. So Jed Hoyer is doing his due diligence here to start this rebuild by getting, sorry, I got to fix my hat there, by getting the best you can find in value. And that's kind of what you have to do at this point. So I think that it's really good what they were able to find. So I like the trade to New York a lot. They got one player, and I think that's probably why they threw in Trevor Williams maybe. The Mets could use the pitching depth with what's going on with Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Carlos Carrasco just making a debut here pretty soon. I think Pete Crow Armstrong is going to be a name Cubs fans will know for a long time, guys. I think he's a really good option for them. He's really young, too, in prospect terms. He was just drafted not too long ago or brought in. So I think it's really good for the Cubs to develop younger players. And, that's what they did when they drafted players and made deals before throughout their system. That's how that original core came to be, partially. So I think this is a really good move for the Cubs. You got good value on Javi Baez and Trevor Williams. Guys that were in walk years that you didn't know for sure were going to stick with the team if you get a draft pick with a qualifying offer. So, once again, it's Jed Hoyer doing his due diligence. I really liked his approach to trying to start a Cubs rebuild up here. Chris Bryant was one a lot of people expect to be traded. He's a Boras client, so we didn't know for sure if he was going to re-sign with the Cubs. It was reported that he could re-sign if he wants to because he loves Chicago, but players are going to say it. But money talks, and Chris Bryant was traded. Now it was reported he could have gone a lot of different places to Philadelphia. Um, Sox fans were saying they should get him on the other side of Chicago with Kimbrel. We heard Tampa Bay as an option. We heard a lot of different options, and he ended up going to the first place NL West San Francisco Giants. So Chris Bryant will be playing in the outfield and probably third base a little bit for them. And entering the Giants sent the Chicago Cubs outfield prospect Alexander Canario and right-handed pitcher Caleb Killian. So I like the Giants system in outfield and infield. Just kind of seeing their farm system as it's grown, you can really see the depth of prospects they have at different position areas there. So they have a really good repertoire of outfielders. Hunter Bishop's a well-known name right now, growing in their system. Heliot Ramos is another name, but the Cubs were able to get one of those guys in Canario, really young prospect they can develop with Pete Crow Armstrong, and we don't know for sure if these Cub guys that are now with the Chicago Cubs will be developed into the major leagues yet because they're prospects. We don't know what's going to happen. White Sox fans, we kind of said the same thing about Eloy and Dylan Cease, but hopefully, for the Cubs, they're able to get these players well developed, the right development coaches with them, and they can try to put something together in the next few years. So we did have another trade come through after that, and it was a smaller trade. It's a swap, but I think it's another good trade for the Cubs as well that I like. Anderson Espinoza of the San Diego Padres, young pitching prospect that was traded to the Boston Red Sox to San Diego years ago. He was traded to the Cubs for an outfield player they kept for 1 year only, Jake Marisnick. So a lot of these one-year contracts the Cubs were able to get as much value as they could, and they did a really good job with that. So those are the trades the Chicago Cubs made. I think the Cubs starting a rebuild is the right choice, and I'm saying that not as a Sox fan. My affiliation is a fan of them, but in terms of knowing baseball and being a fan of baseball and an observer of baseball and of the game. I love the game. And the Cubs are a very well-known organization historically. And, they have Marquee Sports Network, a very supportive and connected fan base. And I'm speaking to the fans of the Cubs, right now that are watching this, seeing it on our YouTube channel. There's mixed feelings when this point comes for a team. Seeing when the White Sox did their rebuild, you kind of see where, you're hurt by seeing your favorite players traded that you watch every day at the game, that you get an autograph from or you see at the ballpark that aren't going to be there. It hurts. And I think, it's things happen. They say it's a business. So I think Cub fans, you guys are going to be okay. It's not easy right now, but I think Jed Hoyer is going to do his best foot forward, and you never know. They might find a new GM to come. If they don't want to stick with Hoyer, I think they are going to stick with Hoyer, at the helm. But I think what the Cubs really need to do now, since they're targeting toward a rebuild, look at a lot of young players. There's a lot of players on free agency or waivers, because we're going to see that after the trade deadline here. A lot of players might get cut or DFA'd because of these players getting traded to other teams, especially on contenders, with having to make subtractions or demotions to the roster. So I think that's going to help the Cubs in the rebuild as well. It's something a lot of teams do when they're rebuilding, is finding young players that might have had an issue, and you can develop those guys as well. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Cubs. I think they're going to be just fine. It's not an easy time for Cub fans right now, so we will score special. Wish the Cubs nothing but the best of luck in the remainder of their season. We're going to continue to cover them as always, as we cover both the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox. But, this is just beginning for them. I know it's not easy. Rebuilds don't work out completely overnight, but I think the Cub fans will be okay with hopefully what they're able to do. So we're going to go into the Chicago White Sox, who on the other end are the contender, and they made some really exciting moves. So I'm going to start in order, just like I did with the Cubs. So the White Sox needed second base. Nick Madrigal, now their former second baseman that was hurt. Wow, that's weird for Sox fans to hear right now. Even though we did get Craig Kimbrell, it's not something we expected to say. Is that Nick Madrigal is now a former player of the White Sox organization. He's now with the Chicago Cubs. So I'm going to say it in those terms now. Cesar Hernandez was traded to the Chicago White Sox. Now, if you told a lot of White Sox fans a week ago, hey, we're going to make 3 trades. We're going to trade with Cleveland to start. A team that's only 8 games behind us in second place. Could have a chance at a wild card if they get lucky in the second half of the season. And guys, this is beauty of baseball. Anything can happen, and that can happen in the case of the Indians at this point. Or should we call them the Cleveland Guardians? That doesn't start till next year, but I'm gonna stick to Cleveland Indians. So Cesar Hernandez coming to the Chicago White Sox, 18 home runs on the year. Someone the White Sox have seen before, since in his tenure when he was with Cleveland, when we faced the Indians in the last few years. He's a good player, really good hitter. I like the switch hitting option though for the White Sox. So the White Sox did give up though a left-handed pitcher, Connor Pilkington, going to the Cleveland Indians baseball team. But back to Cesar Hernandez, I really like his play. On the field, really good defense. Rick Hahn spoke about that, how he really liked what he's going to bring to the defensive side as well, not just the hitting side. We know the offensive side of Cesar Hernandez can get a good line drive in, hit the home run, could drive in a run any way you're looking for. Really good teammate from what we've heard as well. He's going to fit in well with all the other Latin players, I think, and other non-Latin players on the team as well. I really like his fit at second base, and I believe we are going to see him tonight when the Sox take the field when I saw this, I was thinking about this. How ironic is it, and what unique of a story it is, that you trade within your division for a player, a team that's one place below you, but he's facing his old team the day or two after he was traded. So that's really interesting. So I like the move of Cesar Hernandez. He's going to have a real good fit with the White Sox. Now that they traded Madrigal, it's going to help them to be able to, have him in next year as well, and to, kind of, what I'm seeing as well, to be able to find another second baseman in the future. So I really like that fit for the Sox. White Sox, as I mentioned, on the Cubs side of things, made a trade for Ryan Tepera of the Chicago Cubs, and they gave up Bailey Horn of, from their farm system. So I like Ryan Tepera, real good bullpen arm. I think he's going to really help out the White Sox bullpen that's been plagued with, just inconsistency, putting scrubs out there. I call them Ruiz and, just guys that aren't fitting. And I think, they have a lot of young guys in the bullpen still that could be good eventually. But, you're able to make another trade too, today. I mean, Craig Kimbrell, we expected to go to a different contender, or the Dodgers, who just went crazy with the trade deadline as they usually do. Well, they're the Dodgers, like the Yankees in the NL, I call it. There's the Dodgers. So we were able to get Craig Kimbrell from the Cubs, but we did give up Madrigal, our second baseman of the future, and a relief pitcher possibly of the future in Cody Hart. But I think the Sox can be fine at second base. I thought about it. Colson Montgomery is going to be up in a few years probably. Young kid they just drafted, probably could play second. And you have, just my thing, Hernandez has an option for next year. Kimbrel also has an option for next year. And Rick Hahn spoke about those. They're going to be back next year. So you have players not just for this year, not a rental player, but, you might keep it to pair for next year, depending on how he does this year with the White Sox. You might hold on. You're going to hold on to those other two that you gave up a pretty fair amount of the future for. Not too much, luckily. Sox fans were worried about that when they heard the Kimbrel news. They might lose Kopech or Vaughn or Berger, Sheets, or Crochet, or Dylan Cease, I heard a fan say. But luckily we didn't lose those guys. It was a good trade for the White Sox. The White Sox now, in my opinion, have the best bullpen in all of baseball. So I think it's going to be really exciting for White Sox fans to see. They're going for the World Series, guys. They're going to go for it all. And I think they're, aside from teams like the Yankees, I got Gallo and Rizzo and that powerhouse over there, or the Red Sox, or the Padres fighting it with probably the most unique division playoff connection I've ever seen will come up. with the NL West. You know, Giants, the Padres, and the Dodgers. But I think the White Sox are the team that's going to really take it. And that's my take. So that's kind of where the trade deadline is. I think both teams in their respective directions are going to be okay. You know, White Sox just need to get healthy on the offense with Eloy and Robert coming back. They'll be fine. Eloy is back, but they're being cautious with him with smart. Not seeing Luis Garcia at second base anymore starting is going to be wonderful, I think, for White Sox fans. Terrible defense, but a decent hitter still and player. So you can still plug him in the outfield if you want to. You can plug him in the infield, give guys breaks. But Cesar Hernandez is a really good fit with Abreu, Tim Anderson, and Yoan Moncada. And, you know, when Grandal comes back at catcher, but currently Zach Collins and Seby Zavala. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Sox and Cubs. Feel free to chime in after you see this video posted, after it finishes. And as usual on our YouTube channel, just search the title Will's Fifth Quarter Special. Subscribe for free, and it will be up later tonight as well. There's going to be 2 blog posts being up as soon as later tonight. Just trying to make sure I put enough time in to put a good one together for you guys. There's going to be 2 different ones. So there's going to be one on the Cubs and one on the White Sox. It's going to recap each deal like I did here on this Facebook Live. I'm going to have a little more info on my takes on the players and how they could fit with those respective teams and their situations of the trades. And I'm going to give a grade on how I think the Cubs did at the deadline with the start of this new rebuild and how the White Sox did at the deadline to help their chances in the postseason and for possible World Series contention. So that'll be up later tonight as well. Be on the lookout on our social media. As usual, I'll post that. And as I mentioned, this video by then will be up on our YouTube channel. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be working on some stuff, bit on the Bulls side too will come up next week, so that'll be pretty cool. Bears training camp, going to try and get some stuff up about that, and more baseball as well as things continue to unfold. I want to thank those of you that tuned in to this video, and those of you that are going to watch it on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe for free, guys. We really need some subscribers on the YouTube channel. Really good video content, past, present, and future we have for you here at Will's Fifth Quarter Special. So when the fourth quarter buzzer sounds, you can turn to us for your fifth quarter sports talk. I'm the host, owner, and creator of Will's Fifth Quarter Special, Will Farrell, saying so long from this special Facebook Live edition of Will's Fifth Quarter Special. Take care, guys. Have a good weekend. Stay safe.